Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is your friendly neighborhood Oxhorn, and in this video I am going to show you the evil ending to Fallout 4's Nuka World DLC. Like the good ending, this ending starts when you finish clearing every single park in Nuka World. Once you're done, Gage starts a conversation with you.
Well, I'll be damned, you actually did it.
You expected otherwise? Hey, show a little respect.
Sorry, boss. I'm thinking it's time we set our sights on the Commonwealth.
Yeah, I think I like where you're going with this.
Commonwealth has a ton of shitty little settlements that could be put to better use. Don't you think? I say we go have ourselves a chat with Shank. He's the point man for everything entering and leaving Nuka World.
When you visit Shank, you begin to plan your assault on the Commonwealth. The plan is to start taking over settlements, one by one, and to force nearby settlements to feed you and give you money. This is the moment of no return. This is where the good ending and the evil ending split. If you go with the good ending and you kill all of the raider bosses now, you miss out on 2 unique perks that come with the DLC, as well as some of the other benefits like unique guns, unique weapons, and access to some of the loot that raider settlements can give you. But if you choose to go forward with the evil ending and start taking settlements in the name of raiders, you permanently alienate Preston Garvey, making it impossible to recruit him as a companion, and the way settlements work for you forever changes. Now, I'm putting an asterisk next to this statement because there is an exception, but I'll get to that at the end. Before you can end the DLC, Shank wants you to capture and claim 3 settlements for the raiders.
And there are 2 ways to claim new territory. You can head in yourself and convince the locals to leave. Or I can get a crew together and you all can put them in the dirt. Now, if you're looking for something to give you an extra edge, might be worth checking in with some of the gang bosses.
The raider bosses give you some unique tools that can help you take over some of the Commonwealth settlements. Mason gives you a predator grenade.
Beasts find these things irresistible. Toss them on the ground and anything nearby and hungry will come a-running, ripping anything in their path to pieces.
The way this works is you throw a grenade into a settlement that you want to attack, and the grenade will attract vicious creatures. You gotta keep your distance or else the creatures will attack you. I have found that the grenades don't really attract enough creatures to make them effective. You still have to go in guns blazing and take care of them, but then afterwards you've got these creatures you gotta deal with. Dixie from the Disciples gives you a frenzy grenade.
Perfect for convincing any meddlesome settlers to rip each other apart.
This one is interesting because it turns settlers against each other. They get confused. This is remarkably effective. While your enemies are confused, you can pick them off one by one. Lizzie from the Operators gives you a persuasion grenade.
Toss one of these grenades at the feet of your target, and convincing the wary settler suddenly becomes a much simpler affair.
These are useful if you don't want to be violent. If you want to convince them off their land, use a persuasion grenade.
Hey, you.
What happened? Yeah? What is it?
However, if your character has really low charisma like my Brotherhood of Steel character does, even the persuasion grenades aren't going to be enough. I had to throw a persuasion grenade and pop a grape mentats just to convince the settlers to leave.
Look, I'm trying to help you here. You need to go. Now.
Oh, that's how it's gonna... Fine. Take it. Place is all yours.
And sometimes, even after all of that, I still had to get violent.
Doesn't sound like a great offer. Think I'm gonna pass.
Fine. Let's do this the hard way.
Oh, you gotta be kidding. Don't think I won't hurt you. Look, I'm sure we can figure this out.
At the end of the day, violence will work. Once you claim a settlement, you then have to coerce a nearby settlement to be a feeder settlement for that settlement.
If you want to hang on to this newfound territory, you're going to need to convince a nearby settlement to start handing over shipments of supplies.
You choose a raider gang to go with you, and you show up to that settlement and convince the settlers there to send food and money to your new raider settlement, and other raider settlements that you own. They have some meager defense that you have to kill, and then you actually have to cripple each and every single one of the members of that community before they'll agree to help.
Good news, friend. You've been selected to supply the gangs of Nuka World. Or else.
What? Yeah, sure. We'll make sure you're
taken care of?
But once done, that settlement basically becomes a vassal. They send tributes of food and caps to your settlements every day. Then you have to make sure that the new settlement that you captured is happy. Settlement happiness works very differently with raider settlements. I'm not going to go into everything. I am going to be shooting a completely different video on how to build a raider settlement system. That's outside the scope of this video. But basically you just have to make sure they have enough food, water, defense, and there are a couple of new things like chem dispensers that you can build to improve settlement happiness. Once the settlement is happy and it has enough food, you can go back to Shank and he sends you on your final mission to capture 2 more settlements. So you gotta go through this process again, but only 2 more times before you can complete the DLC.
2 more outposts carved from the Commonwealth ought to do the trick. Get all that?
By now you know that there are 3 gangs in Nuka World, and each gang is envious of the new settlements that you give to the other gangs. Since there are 3 gangs, there's no way to evenly distribute all of the settlements that you claim and all of the parks 100% of the time, which means that at some point there will always be one gang that has fewer settlements than another. As you continue playing, you'll notice which gang is unhappy because their raider members will say sort of snarky and backbiting comments to you as you walk by.
You're lucky Nisha's in charge. If it were up to me, you'd be dead.
After you capture your 3rd settlement, you immediately start a new quest called Power Play. When you head back to Nuka World to talk with Shank, you notice that a firefight has broken out. One of the gangs has turned on you, and their raiders are now hostile to the other 2 raider gangs. The gang that turns on you is the gang that has received the fewest settlements from you and the fewest parks. They get jealous, they get upset, and so they rebel.
Bad news, boss. The disciples have turned on us. Seems they didn't like how you were doling out territory. Nisha and her crew went and stormed Nuka World's power plant. You better get up there and put an end to those turncoats before they do something stupid.
The climax of the evil ending is when you head on over to the Nuka World power plant to meet up with the raider bosses who sided with you.
If that bitch thinks she's going to get away with this, she's dead wrong. I'll tuck her in for a dirt nap myself.
She can't get away with it, boss. And we all want in on the action.
Hey now, I already lost men trying to stop her. I won't be satisfied until it's my hands wrapped around her scrawny little neck, eyes popping out of her stupid little mask.
Both of you, shut up. Look, boss, this is your play. We'll follow you anywhere, but you have to swear to us that Nisha will be punished for her actions.
She's as good as dead.
Exactly what I was hoping to hear.
Let's do this.
Together you storm the power plant. It's actually pretty fun. It's a fairly satisfying experience to be running around with the heads of the raider gangs with a huge Gatling laser tearing apart the disciples. At least the disciples were the ones who rebelled in my game. But I read your comments and I know many of you hate the disciples too. The inside of the power plant is typically inhabited by ghouls. If you head here before you begin the quest Power Play, you gotta clear the entire place of ghouls. But after Power Play starts, instead you have to clear the plant of raiders. Raiders that belong to the gang that rebelled against you, in my case, Disciple Raiders. Once you clear the inside of the plant, you find a ladder near the top that leads to the roof. On the roof, you find Nisha, or the boss of the gang that rebelled against you. The boss is by him or herself, but it ends up being a pretty tough fight, at least it was for me. Once dead, you can head to the power plant control room and finally push the big red button that restores power to all of Nuka World. Now that the power is restored, many of the rides work, and there are a few places in the game that were previously locked which are now unlocked. You should go back and check out that locked door in the bottom of the World of Refreshment.
Nuka World, all lit up. It's goddamn beautiful.
All it takes are a few rides and some lights to make you this sentimental?
I mean, that's part of it. But it's bigger than that. We've made one hell of a mark on the Commonwealth. There ain't a soul from here to Diamond City that hasn't heard of us. I took a big chance helping you take down Coulter. Glad that paid off.
That's all, huh? While I'm at it, you got any laundry that needs to be done?
Like I ever bothered changing clothes. There's plenty of caps out there just waiting to be taken. And as long as you keep bringing them in, we'll have your back.
At last, you gain access to the 2 perks you can earn by completing the evil ending to Nuka World. And in my case, I got Ace Operator and Pack Alpha. Your combination of perks will be different depending on the raider gangs that decide to support you. After power play, if you speak to the raider bosses that are left, you get a nice little surprise.
I suppose Gage wasn't wrong to put so much faith in you. You've certainly earned your place here.
I'm sorry, but was that a compliment?
It was meant to be, but it's also a fact. Because what it took to get where you are now, the burned bridges, the salted earth, there is no going back. Like it or not, you're one of us. A cutthroat. A killer. A raider. But, as luck would have it, it would seem that this was the life you were meant for.
Dang! I was hoping I could be a pony.
Sorry, boss. Take it from experience. There's no use in fighting who you are. Welcome home, Overboss. Here is to a bright future.
The sniper rifle you get from Mags has the Relentless legendary effect, which refills action points on a critical hit. For a sniper build that uses VATS a lot, this can be epic.
So, how's it feel to get revenge?
No one double-crosses me and gets away with it.
You done good, boss. What's next?
I'm taking my caps and retiring to a desert island. Try not to wreck the place.
You can't escape the lure of caps and mayhem. You're in the chase for life, like the rest of us. Oh, and let me make something clear. I appreciate what you've done, but don't go thinking we're friends. We ain't. I'd still happily kill you if enough caps were involved.
The melee weapon you get from Mason has the Furious legendary effect on it, which increases damage after each consecutive hit on the same target. Impressive, but in my opinion not quite as impressive as Sito's Shiny Slugger. Now there will still be members of the raider gang that rebelled against you inside the park that you'll need to clear. In my case, I had to go back to Fizztop Mountain and clear it of all of the remaining disciples, including Dixie and Savory. I have to admit that I did relish finally giving Dixie what she deserved. Now, I did all of this on my Brotherhood of Steel alt. As you saw in my last video, I did the good ending with my main, so I missed all of this content. But with my Brotherhood of Steel alt, I actually completely skipped the Concord experience at the beginning of the game, which means that I never met Preston Garvey, so I figured, well, let's go see how Preston Garvey responds. After completing power play, if you show up at the Museum of Freedom, Preston Garvey asks for your help just like normal. When you enter the museum, it's as if nothing has changed. He continues to ask for your help, you get directed to the minigun on the top of the museum, and you go on a raider-killing rampage throughout the town of Concord.
Man, I don't know who you are, but your timing's impeccable. Preston Garvey, Commonwealth Minutemen.
You then escort them back to Sanctuary as normal, but that's where things change. Once you get to Sanctuary, Preston Garvey wants nothing more to do with you.
What do you want? Did you really think I wouldn't find out about what you've been doing? The last thing the Commonwealth needs is another gang of raiders. If you consider that kind of scum friends, then I don't see much point in talking to you.
It's a nice bit of continuity for Bethesda to make the Minutemen and the Raiders completely incompatible. You really do have to choose which faction you side with. You're either the General of the Minutemen or you're a Raider. There's no straddling the line here. This is if you've never met Preston before you completed power play. If you had met Preston before you completed power play, and if you have already become the General of the Minutemen, then after completing power play you can stay the General of the Minutemen, but Preston Garvey will no longer speak with you and he is no longer recruitable as a companion. Even if you kill all the raider bosses afterwards, he's grateful, but he still feels betrayed by you and he'll never be a companion again. But if you had never met Preston before completing power play, things are different. If you choose to stick with your new raider friends, Preston Garvey just doesn't want to talk to you. But at this point, you can choose to betray your raider friends.
You're making it damn hard for me to believe you're someone I should trust. You could start by proving you're on the right side. Wipe out those raiders instead of helping them.
Okay, I will. I'll wipe them out.
I hope those are more than just words.
Preston Garvey gives you the option to start a quest called Open Season. This is the same quest that you got from Mackenzie inside the slave trader marketplace of Nuka World. If you decide to complete Open Season, you can at this point. You can go back to Nuka World and kill all the raider bosses. However, as soon as you do, you lose Porter Gage as a companion. He turns on you and you have to kill him. Even if you sent Porter Gage to one of the raider settlements before completing Open Season, you're still treated as kill on sight by him the next time you see him. If you go back to the settlement, you not only have to kill all the raiders in that settlement, but you got to kill Porter Gage as well. There's no way to complete Open Season and keep Porter Gage alive. And you lose all of the settlements that you've claimed for the raiders. But you still get to keep the perks that you earned. Once done, head back to Preston Garvey.
Hey, good to see you again. I was hoping you'd show up.
And he brightens right up. It's as if you were never a raider. You can become General of the Minutemen again, and Preston Garvey will join you as a companion.
Is there something you need?
Come with me. I need your help.
Sure thing, General.
This is the only scenario where you can not only get the most from Nuka World in terms of perks and gear, but you can also retain Preston Garvey as a companion. Now, to do so means you do have to completely purge 3 settlements of all of the settlers that are there, and take over a bunch of feeder settlements to feed those settlements. That's still a pretty raidery thing to do, even if you choose the non-violent method of doing so. So that might still not be conducive to a good guy playthrough, which is why this is still the evil ending. As the settlers themselves say, raiders are parasites.
Wish I didn't have to work for my meals. You raiders. Nothing but a bunch of parasites.
They don't earn anything for themselves. They don't work for themselves. They're afraid of manual labor, and making them farm for themselves actually reduces settlement happiness.
No one ever joined a crew to dig in the dirt, so you'll want to make sure you've convinced enough settlements to supply your gang. People at the outpost can farm in a pinch, but they sure as hell won't be happy about it. Now,
this, incidentally, is why they're weak. I'll be getting into this in a different video, but without slaves to work for them, they're completely incapable of supporting themselves.
Now, for a new outpost, you'll usually want to target a spot with plenty of populated settlements nearby that might be able to feed our people later on.
Now, I have been reading all of your comments on my previous videos. Many of you commented on my good ending to Nuka World video, and as surprising as it may seem, some of you have actually been defending the raiders as if they're really not that bad. Some of you even went as far as to say that they were chaotic good. Raiders may only be taking food from other people because they're genuinely hungry. They're really starving. Or they may be stealing caps because they're genuinely in poverty. All of that may be true. The reasons for doing those things do not matter. It's the results of their actions that matter. And when the results of their actions mean evicting people from their own homes, enslaving people by putting collars around their necks that makes their head explode if they run away, attacking settlements and forcing them to send you tributes of food, caps, and water, while sitting on your laurels all day, taking chems from a chem dispenser and brewing booze? Yeah, I gotta say, that's evil. It's also unsustainable. The only reason that these raiders can get away with this is because there are hard-working people out there who are farming. If those people weren't farming, guess who would have to farm? The raiders. If everybody became a raider, the raider lifestyle could not be sustained. In contrast, the Minuteman lifestyle fights hard to allow settlers to retain their individual liberty. A society can be built in a world where there are no raiders, but no society can be built in a world where there are no farmers. It takes much greater strength to defend a group of ungrateful people without wanting anything in return than it does to selfishly take from others something you did not earn and then immediately consume it. One might think that it's stronger to be a raider. Raiders are violent. They go out there with their might and their guns and their arms, and they take what they want. Raiders are men. And yet, the opposite is actually true. Raiders are children. Children take what they want without thinking of the consequences. Children want dessert for dinner. Raiders want chems for dinner. Children throw a fit when they have to clean their rooms. Raiders refuse to do manual labor. That's because children have a hard time making long-term decisions. They think of only themselves in the moment, at the moment, now. They don't think about themselves when they're 20 years old, 30 years old, 50 years old. And neither do raiders. Raiders have the mindset of children who want what they want and they want it now. Because this is a game, your character is the kingpin. He is the overboss. But in real life, if this were real, how many of us would be the overboss? Very few. I mean, if we ever did adopt raider culture in real life, we would be the grunts. There are very few people at the top of the pyramid, ladies and gentlemen. The vast majority of us hold up that pyramid. The vast majority of us would be the base. And the people who are not at the top have horrible lives. They're expendable. They're disposable. They exist only to make the overboss richer, happier, more powerful. Conversely, the Minuteman lifestyle raises the standard of living for a much wider group of people. Now anyone can have a moderately successful life. A raider can't go out and start a farm, build a house, get married, have a family, raise some crops, raise some personal wealth. No. All of that belongs to the overboss. It is expected that he shares his wealth. He shares his loot with the other raiders. Only individual settlers whose freedom is protected by the Minutemen have that option. They are the only ones who can go out and start their own farms, and marry their own wives, and have their own children, and own their own Brahmin, and make names for themselves. The Minutemen raise the standard of living for more people in the Commonwealth, while raiders tear it down. And any other faction that compromises this also does a disservice to the people of the Commonwealth. When the Brotherhood of Steel asks you to go to settlements and coerce them into giving over crops to help with the Brotherhood of Steel war effort, that is no better than a raider doing so.
You know, I think I heard of you. Some big shot with the Brotherhood of Steel, right? They ain't that different from a raider gang, you ask me. Just try and act all legitimate, but they still just take what they want. Look.
When the Institute kills Roger Warwick and replaces him with a synth so that they can do an idiotic experiment on growing bigger pumpkins, they're compromising the personal freedom of Roger Warwick. Well, I'm getting a little bit off topic, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to save some of this for future videos. But I just want to end by saying that this is, of course, just a game, and you can play it the way you want. If you want to play a Raider ending, play the Raider ending. If you want to play the Minuteman ending, play the Minuteman ending. There's no right or wrong way to play this game. You don't have to have the Raider ending to enjoy it or get your money out of it, so don't think that you're forced to do so. You don't have to do the good ending if you would prefer to get some of the Raider perks, so don't think that you're forced to do so. It doesn't reflect poorly on you as a human being to make either of the choices. This is just a game. But for those who are into role-playing, because it is a role-playing game, then it may be interesting to just kind of take a look at some of the morals behind the different factions in the Commonwealth, and then make your own decision at the end of the day. I've shared my thoughts, and now I'm eager to hear your thoughts. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the evil ending to the Nuka World expansion of Fallout 4. Share with me your thoughts. I want to know what you thought of this expansion. Did you like it? Are you satisfied by this DLC? Please subscribe for more Fallout 4 and Nuka World content. And thank you so very much for watching.